I'm Robert Cavuto, and today on Metal Rules, we are speaking with Carl Dixon of Coney to talk about the band's live release, Postcards from Germany, and their remastered version of the 1982 debut album. Welcome, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Robert. It's great to be here.
What a great album. What a great item to have in your catalog, huh?
Yeah, we're pretty pleased about it.
Why was it such a long time from, it was recorded in 2018. Why is it just being released now, 5 years later?
That's the modern music business for you.
Yeah.
It was, I guess, the end of 2018. We were invited to play something called the Heat Festival in Ludwigsburg, Germany, just in Bavaria, down by Munich. And we were very excited, and we hadn't. I'd been to Germany for my solo albums, but Coney Hatch had never played there in our lengthy career, so the audience was very excited to see us. We were excited to be there, and when we got there, the fellow running the festival said to me, Carl, for 100 euros, we can record your show. We have a full Pro Tools setup attached to the soundboard, and you can mix it later. I said, 100 euros, and we have an album? Yeah, buddy, we're doing that.
Awesome.
We recorded the show. I didn't tell the other guys, just so they wouldn't.
Good idea.
Oh no, we're recording. I wasn't ready for this. People are always better off not knowing, I think. And so we got great tracks out of it. The audience was so excited, and so one thing after another. The fella he put all the tracks on a USB stick, sent it to me by courier, but wrote down the wrong address.
Oh.
So it was floating back and forth for 6 months before it landed on my door. That was 2019, mid 2019, when I finally got hold of it. I opened the tracks on my Pro Tools and I thought, wow, yeah, this matches up with how I remember the show. This is a great night. I'm glad we got this. So then we started thinking, okay, do we do this ourselves? Do we look for a label? We got discussion with a label going, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Which, the best laid plans of mice and men, etc.
Right. Yes.
We all went through that. And that kind of put the brakes on to a lot of things. So then during the pandemic, we had done a live show, a live performance under the restricted conditions at the famous El Macombo Club in Toronto, concert club that had just been newly renovated. And because of the restrictions, we were only allowed to have 40 people in the audience. Everybody had to keep the social distancing, and
yeah,
So we recorded that again because they had the Pro Tools set up, and because the German album was in limbo, we thought, well, let's just sling this out on a limited. We'll do this ourselves on a limited edition as kind of an official bootleg album. My partner Andy Curran always loved that Aerosmith official bootleg from I guess
bootleg,
the 70s. Maybe, yeah, I guess it was the 70s. So he wanted something like that, and I thought, okay, great, won't cost us, and people will be glad to have it. But boy, we got this German album in the background, and then it became clear that, okay, that's kind of weird to have two live albums if we get the other one so close together. But two things: the German set list was considerably different from the Canadian show we did,
right.
And there's smoke. Dear, stop setting fire to the place, please. I'm in an interview.
Do you want to check that out?
No, my wife's out there. She's doing something interesting, I'm sure. Okay, there we go. Got it under control.
False alarm.
It's always exciting around here.
I don't have to call 911. We're all good.
No, I'm not sure yours would.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, off you go, you silly thing. Mid-thought, yeah, the German album. Right, so we started to think we have to differentiate this, even though it's a different set list. We had two new songs we had kind of in the can, but incomplete. So that's what we'll do. We'll make it different by adding two new songs, brand new written and recorded songs to the mix, and then it'll be a different kind of album. And so we went forward with that idea after much back and forth again, hoo-hawing, finding a label. We got a release partner for it, and then a new release partner for the Canadian market in Anthem Entertainment. And so they own our whole back catalog. Then the idea was, well, why don't we do a 40th anniversary of the first album kind of commemoration
Nice.
and pair it with the German album, because then it'll be a unique product that, these two things together.
Absolutely.
The start of where it all, Coney Hatch's recording career emerged to the world, and the very latest thing in the same package.
I think that's tremendous because a lot of people maybe in the 80s didn't have access to the first album. So I think it's tremendous that it's being brought back. And I really like it. That I've always loved that album. It's a great album. So
Thanks.
it's a nice package.
Thanks.
We were talking before we jumped on to the cameras. I always used to see your band in Kerrang. That's where I learned about it. I live in New Jersey, and that's where I was. How did you get tied up? Because I always associated Coney Hatch, even though you're Canadian, with the British new wave of music. How did you get locked into that?
Your impression wasn't mistaken because
Right,
of the promotion, the love we received from Britain and the music fans there, and we came out at the same time as
right.
the roughly around the same time as those bands. Our first album was '82. We formed in '81, and it was in the midst of that kind of energy of, well, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Saxon,
Right.
all those guys that
Yes.
were emerging into the new wave of British. Who's Sam? There was a Samson,
Samson,
there was
Samson,
Samson, and Mama's Boys, and
Mama's
a lot,
Boys,
yeah,
Venom. Yeah,
a lot of UK bands that were bringing sort of I guess, a whole lot of energy, where it wasn't the tired old blues rock thing anymore. It was just a boom. Probably the logical next step after the energy of punk rock, which was not about musicianship or
Mhm.
songwriting, but was just about energy. So then that energy out in the world probably created a shift in what rock, melodic or traditional rock, could now sound like. You get
Right.
that really driving force into it again, and that is what we came out in. And boy, there were some people in Britain in the press there that just loved us. So
Yeah.
that's probably the conjunction of our sound and the people that loved it over there, that gave the impression to probably a few people that we were British.
I always thought you were, then I started reading the articles and you look in and it's like, oh, they're from Canada. How does this all tie together? So that's an interesting perspective. It was a nice coup for you, to get together with that and be a part of
Yeah,
it in some way, shape, or
yeah.
form.
Yes, and the fact that we ended up touring major tours with Judas Priest and Iron Maiden for our
Yes.
first two albums made a huge impression on us, and probably cemented that connection in people's minds as well.
Right. I have some Iron Maiden questions for you later, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the recording of the live one.
Yeah.
Um, was it difficult to pick the set list for this particular show, knowing that it was recorded? You were the only guy that knew it was recorded, but was there any concerns about, listen, if I'm going to record this, I might as well go out with other songs? Or was it already
There's
baked, the set list?
When we play Europe, which hasn't been a ton, but we've been to England a couple of times when they used to have the annual Fire Fest there, and Sweden, rock we had played back in 2004, and then this German show, and we'd learned basically really from our English friends that our Friction album, our third album, was the most popular by far in
Okay.
Europe. So in choosing our set list to play this German show, there was a bias toward including more of the third album, Friction, than we normally do,
Very
and
smart.
that's what made it a different set list than the El Macombo live album as well. And boy, you can just feel and hear on the tracks the energy lift when we go into those Friction album
Yeah.
songs by the German audience. They just responded so strongly. And then the other things, there's certain songs that Coney Hatch always, every band has their songs they have to play or their fans aren't happy.
Yeah,
And
of course.
this really the songs that we feel our history are founded upon, those always have to work in
Of
somewhere.
course. Of course. Yeah, no, it's a great set list. It's interesting that you're able to target I guess your audience, depending upon what country they're in, for what album they like. So I think that's well thought out. That's a great idea. Not a lot of bands do that. They just continuous go out with those 14, 15 same songs.
Yeah, well, I particularly, based on my experience of life, live very much in the now, and I don't even go up with my own for my own shows with a set list. I
Mm,
just, as I feel it, that's what comes out. I always have some idea of the songs I should play, but I love being very much aware of the setting and the now and engaging with the people that are there, not just by rote what we do 100 times a year.
right, right.
That's not
Knowing that it
interesting.
was, sorry.
Go ahead, that's fine.
Knowing that it was being recorded, somebody was just recording it for $100. Did you have a lot of work and manipulation to do when you got that final?
Oh, it was perfect. Pro Tools
Really?
clean signals. There was no cleanup required. All we had to do
Wow.
was decide. Um, we didn't really have to decide anything except getting our favorite mix engineer to polish the sounds so they fit together like a proper sounding mix and not just
Okay,
like a
got it.
book tape.
That's pretty smart. Tell me about the partnership that you have with Andy, Dave, that has been fostered over the last 40 years.
I like to remind Andy because he's a little forgetful, buddy. We've been partners for 42 years now,
Yeah,
and there's not many partnerships that endure that long.
true.
So we are dear friends through all the ups and downs of our careers. When the band was together, we were actually far more competitive as young men butting heads, trying to, dominate or be a force within the unit. And the lucky thing in Canada, and maybe this is, in the States, maybe baseball, in the UK, soccer or football, as they call it, we're hockey players too. So when the band wasn't together, we played a lot of hockey together. And that kept the bonds strong. And we started a charity team called the Rock and Roll All Stars Hockey Team. And we had a lot of fun with that for a number of years. And that kept us connected even as we went off on our own solo career
Right.
directions and the various things that I've done. We still had that bond of deep and enduring friendship that has been very powerful,
Yes.
uh, and I guess a thread of continuity throughout my life.
That's nice. And that's truly important to have that partnership and that friendship with somebody that you could,
Yes,
and having work with them, of course. It's like a marriage, right?
yes. And there's ups and downs and disagreements, but if you keep in mind what the ultimate goal is, then you find your way through to a solution.
I always like to ask this question of bands, particularly when they record a live album. Do you guys have any pre-show rituals that you like to do before you hit the stage?
No, we're remarkably inconsistent that way. What we generally do, I guess, we we do everything ourselves, so we don't have handlers or tour managers screening the door, keeping people out. So we just get swarmed by fans and interested people everywhere we go. And I guess we're kind of friendly, popular guys. So we kind of have to, okay, guys, please, we need a couple of minutes to get dressed before we have to go on stage. And
That's
clear
the
the room
ritual,
out.
getting dressed.
That's the ritual, putting on the costume.
Yes.
um, what I've taken to doing the last couple of years is a little huddle where I remind the guys something I believe in. Okay, remember, we're not going for perfect tonight. We're going for great.
That's
And
key.
because what I've decided through my vast experience over the years is I encapsulate it as there's only one way to be perfect, and there's so many ways to be great. And if you're shooting for perfect and you miss it, you feel like a failure.
Right.
But if you're unconcerned with that and you have confidence, you've established a baseline. Yeah, yeah, we'll never fall below a certain level of pretty good.
Right.
And that's your springboard to hit the heights and
That's great.
greatness. Yeah.
That's a great aspect of positive thinking too, and then you take it to another level sometimes. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What we talked a little bit about earlier about the British wave of heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal. When you were out there touring, was there a level of competitiveness with yourself and the other British bands that you had to put on a bigger, better show? That you had to be, because everybody had videos. Everybody, well, starting out, people had videos, but their shows were very extravagant. Iron Maiden had Eddie, Judas Priest had all the studs, and what was your aspect of it, and what did you think of it all as you were coming up?
I could see the value in those headliner acts of the presentation they put on.
Mhm.
There was an image consciousness that we didn't really have as Canadians. Canada and Canadian musicians have historically had a "oh, we're no big deal" kind of outlook, because that's the colonial mentality, I
Mhm.
suppose. Don't go thinking you're any big deal, okay? Where I've always
Talk
admired,
about confidence, right?
I've always admired the British band's uh, assumption that right from the get-go we are a big deal, and the American groups, well, what are you talking about? We're number one in the world. Shut up, you know. Of course, you know.
Right,
Listen to us. Look at us. We're great.
right.
And Canada has, I suppose, a much quieter, humble, or mm, lowered expectations. Oh, look, my wife is from Australia, and
Oh,
she points out, having lived here now for 10 years, her observation that the climate of living in a northern frostbitten country has made people just sort of be more closed and um, less, I suppose, assuming that the future will work out. There's a traditionally a reliance on other people in the community to get through the terrible winters historically,
mhm.
and even today in this era there's still, I suppose, that Canadian character that kept us from feeling like, probably kept us from being more of a self-promotion machine.
Okay.
We didn't have that confidence of, hey, we're Coney Hatch and you better listen to us because we're great. No, no, we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So, and the middling level of success that we hit um, never generated the cash to put on those spectacles and
Oh,
the big stage sets. We never had a platform for that.
right.
We had that audience when we were on the big tours. When we did something like 40 dates with Iron Maiden and almost 30 with Judas Priest. So we got quite at home in the NHL hockey rinks and the big
Yeah.
halls of 10,000, 15,000 people. And you do that for a couple of years, you start to think, yeah, we belong here. This is us. Next album, we're going to be right back there again.
Yeah.
But it takes a level of investment. A lot of those bands went into debt to create that
Yes.
image of
Yes.
themselves. And in the gamble that if we sell big, it'll pay off. So I know that when we were out with Judas Priest, and the Screaming for Vengeance album was the current album,
Mhm.
and it did so well for them, and the vagaries of the music business, we learned, yeah, well, this album is so successful, it pays off all the debt from their 5 previous albums where they were in the hole. So now they get to start from zero again.
Yeah. Now, now they're out of the red, right?
Yeah, so it's a funny old business.
It is. It is. How did you get hooked up with opening up for two of the largest British metal bands?
A combination of our music style and the management we had. We had Rush's manager, and
Oh.
he was able to contact the booking. Concert Productions International, CPI, was one of the big ones at that time, and Rush had established themselves as a big deal, so he could get people to take his phone calls. And
Oh, okay.
and our international deal with Polygram Mercury Records meant that they had a vested interest in making sure that Coney Hatch became visible
Yeah.
on these tours. So between those two factors and the I like to say quality of the albums,
Of course.
people took a flyer. Yeah, okay, put them on this slot, and we actually got paid every night, where we didn't have to buy our way onto the tours, as became
Right.
a little bit of that was happening back then, and then it became much more common in
Right.
later years. If you wanted an opening slot, you had to pay the headliner.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah, I've heard that pay to play.
Well, on different levels, yes.
Yes, yeah.
So
When I was a kid growing up, it was the clubs. You had a
the
you
clubs,
know,
yes, in LA, because there were a million hair metal bands that wanted a stage, and okay, I have a stage, but you're going to pay me. Or I don't know, the strategy that they put out then was, okay, here's 100 tickets, sell all these tickets, and you can have Thursday night.
yeah, interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Now, what was it like opening up for Iron Maiden? Because, the World Peace Tour was probably one of their Peace of Mind was probably one of their biggest albums and one of their best and my personal favorite album.
No,
What
man,
was it like? What was it like opening up for them for that tour?
that was their breakthrough album. You could feel the excitement around them, even growing as the tour went on.
Right.
It was really great. We we had had what we thought. Well, we did have an education being out with Judas Priest, but they weren't very forthcoming. They didn't really engage with us much, in passing. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
Like, at the arenas and that sort of thing. And Rob Halford was friendly, but Iron Maiden, they were just like regular blokes you'd go down to the pub and have a beer with. They
that's cool.
just really friendly, good guys. And Steve Harris in particular is just salt of the earth, man.
Yeah.
He's so smart, so talented, but just also very a blokey bloke.
Yeah.
We've stayed friends with him through all these years, and when the Iron Maiden comes around, we uh, we still get to meet with them and visit them sometimes. So it's it was a great experience for us. It was like year two of university, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Judas Priest had been a year one of our university education, and then the next year with Iron Maiden
Right.
was really starting to find our sea legs and figure out and watch some more things because they were nicer to us and allowed us to be in a position to learn more.
Right. Right. Do you have a favorite memory of that? Whether it's on stage or off stage, maybe in the pub having a couple of beers with Iron Maiden. Favorite memory?
Uh, well, there's a story I relate in my book. I wrote a book about my experiences a couple of years ago, well, several years ago now. It was the final night of our tour with them. And there's traditionally a send-off sort of thing between the headliner and the opening act. Pranks are pulled. So our silly guys, Andy Curran and our guitar player at that time, decided, feeling secure enough in their relationship, that they felt they could go on to stage once Iron Maiden was in the middle of their show and pie them.
Oh,
Yeah, except
oof.
neither one of them will fess up whose idea it really was. They
Right.
decided it would be great to put cat food in under the shaving cream
Oh
of the
my
pie,
God.
so that it was a hidden, like, dirty trick.
Yeah.
Now, why this was considered a good I didn't even know about it until they were giggling about it. And our tour manager, so, he heard of this plan and he said, "You're doing what?"
Yeah.
"We're doing this, it'll be great." "Oh, you are you?" "Uh-huh." So while we were on stage, he went and told the Iron Maiden guys about this plan. So they said, "Ho, ho, ho, oh, they think they're doing that, do they?" They took the pies and came out during our set and just nailed us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's a great story.
turnabout is fair play. Yeah.
That is a tremendous story.
Poor Dave Ketchum, the drummer, he couldn't leave his position. He couldn't deke and dodge. So Nico McBrain came up with a pie in each hand and just went shong on each side of
Oh,
his head.
did the
That's
Steelers.
rubbed them in. And the other Andy and Steve got full on the face. Uh, Adrian decided I would be his target, and I was dancing around because I was a pretty good athlete too. I was deking and dodging him, and then I looking at the crowd and thinking, I can't make Adrian stumble or look bad in
Yeah,
front of
yeah,
his
yeah.
crowd. I better stand still like a man and take it.
Take it.
So he was merciful and he put it on my chest
Yeah.
because I let him have it.
Oh, that's great. That's an awesome story. That is a great
Pretty,
memory.
Yeah.
You must have stayed close with Steve Harris because you guys opened up for his project band, solo band, British Lions.
Yeah, that was
Recently.
especially due to Andy Curran, our bass player. He's a tennis player, and so is Steve Harris. They'd get together with the Rush guys and
Wow,
play tennis when Steve came to town, doubles matches, you know.
that's
And
great.
yes, and Andy's much better at networking than I ever have been. So they got along well. They were both bass players. Andy's parents are British, so there was a real history connection there, or background connection. So Andy cultivated that relationship over the years, and that led to both
Mhm.
the British Lion connection and another offer to go play with them this past or last January. Yeah, it was just January this year. Wow, time goes by so quickly. Anyway, yes. So, and then we got to see Steve when we played with Iron Maiden in Sweden Rock this year, and he and some of the crew guys came and stood side stage for our whole set.
Oh, that's nice. That
Yeah,
is
he
cool.
actually delivered us a box of our merchandise that had gotten sent to England
Oh.
of one of our albums. And he just came over with the box of CDs. Hey, nice. Where should I put this?
He is a nice guy. I've met him a couple of times, you know, with the band backstage and stuff like that. And he's a tremendously nice person. Very, very
Yeah,
kind and very, very patient with fans, takes pictures and signs autographs. So it's
yeah.
really nice. What's your thoughts when you look back at the band's debut album and the success you've had now? You talked a little bit about it earlier about the bookmarks of the band and the success.
I uh, I came to characterize our early time with Coney Hatch as we didn't make it to the top, but we could see the top from where we
Mm,
were. And so that was a good confidence builder. Those early years gave me personally the confidence to feel and believe that, yeah, I can do this. This is what I'm meant to be doing.
mhm.
And I won't always have the same opportunity or outlet for my singing and writing and performing. But if I just keep my wits about me and keep improving, endless improvement has always been on my mind. Just keep getting better and better, take care of myself, then I will have the opportunity to stick with this thing that I love and that I'm apparently built for.
Yeah.
um, I did not have any thought that I'd be that I used to think 50 was really old in those
Yeah, me
days.
too.
Maybe when I'm 50, I play drums as well, and I
Mhm.
did that all through high school. Maybe when I'm 50, I'll get a little gig as a jazz drummer in a jazz club, and wouldn't that be fun, just as a sideline? Because maybe I won't even need the money by then, and
Right.
just play for fun. And I've had so many great experiences through playing with Coney Hatch, and also through being known as the guy from Coney Hatch, and it led to many other opportunities. So I'm grateful for the continuity of it and the friendship of it and the platform that we built that allowed people to see me.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great answer. And you have a tremendous voice, and you always have. So kudos to you
Thank you.
for that. I want to thank you so much, Carl, for your time. It was really a fun and insightful interview, and I wish you the best success with the new albums.
Thank you, Robert. I'd love to talk to you again whenever you feel
Definitely.
it.
I'd like that.
Cheers.
Maybe when you come to New Jersey, I'll come and see you guys if you make it here. All right.
Love to do that. Last time we were in New Jersey,
New York. I'm close to New York too.
yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, probably the Iron Maiden tour. We played Long Island. We played Nassau County Coliseum on the Iron
Yes.
Maiden tour,
Yes. Yes.
and I guess don't know if Coney Hatch has not been in that region in many years. Upstate New York, but no.
Okay.
So yes, we'll have to plan something.
Yeah, it'd be nice. And it'd be nice to
Okay,
find
man.
you. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a great day.
Thank you. You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye.